December 7th, 1941. The sun rose over a quiet Pearl Harbor. Battleships lined up like sitting ducks along Battleship Row. At 7:55 a.m., the sky exploded. 200 Japanese aircraft screamed in from the north, torpedoes ripping into hulls, bombs shattering decks. In 90 minutes, America's Pacific Fleet lay crippled. 8 battleships sunk or damaged, nearly 2,400 sailors dead. Yet the man who planned the attack, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, never celebrated. He knew Japan had just made the greatest miscalculation in modern naval history. He had warned his superiors, "I can raise hell for 6 months, perhaps a year. After that, I have no expectation of success." Japan awoke the sleeping giant and doomed itself from the very first day. This is the story of 2 fatal errors that sealed the Imperial Navy's fate before the smoke even cleared. Act 1. The question that haunts history. Why did Japan attack Pearl Harbor at all? Oil. By 1941, America had frozen Japanese assets and imposed a total oil embargo. Japan imported 80% of its petroleum from the United States. Without oil, the Imperial Navy would grind to a halt within months. The War Cabinet in Tokyo saw only 2 choices: withdraw from China and lose face, or seize the oil-rich Dutch East Indies. To do the latter, they had to neutralize the U.S. Pacific Fleet stationed at Pearl Harbor. Admiral Yamamoto crafted Operation Hawaii, a daring carrier strike to buy Japan 6 months of free movement in Southeast Asia. 6 months was all he believed he could win. Anything longer, he said, would be suicide. Yet even Yamamoto underestimated how catastrophically wrong the plan would go. Act 2. The plan and the missing carriers. Yamamoto assembled the Kido Butai, 6 aircraft carriers, 414 planes, the most powerful naval strike force ever seen. Commander Minoru Genda designed a 2-wave assault. First wave, 183 aircraft to cripple battleships and airfields. Second wave, 170 more to finish the job. A third wave was fully planned, another 180 planes to destroy fuel tanks, dry docks, and repair facilities. Those targets mattered far more than the battleships. Pearl Harbor held 4 million barrels of oil, enough to supply the entire Pacific Fleet for a year. Destroy the tanks and America would need 18 months to rebuild its fuel reserve. Destroy the machine shops and dry docks, and damaged ships could not return to battle quickly. But the third wave never launched. Why? Fear. Captain Mitsuo Fuchida, the air commander, reported heavy anti-aircraft fire and low fuel in many planes. Vice Admiral Nagumo, commanding the task force, panicked. He feared American carriers were hunting him. Unbeknownst to Nagumo, the carriers weren't even there. Enterprise, Lexington, and Saratoga, the 3 fleet carriers that would later crush Japan, were hundreds of miles away on missions. Their absence was pure luck. Enterprise was delayed by weather while ferrying fighters to Wake Island. Lexington was delivering planes to Midway. Saratoga was on the U.S. West Coast. Nagumo never knew. He ordered the task force to withdraw, leaving the oil tanks, repair yards, and submarines untouched. That decision alone cost Japan the war. Act 3. The rising cost of caution. Nagumo's cancellation of the third wave preserved his fleet for the moment, but it guaranteed American recovery. Within weeks, American codebreakers at Station Haipo began reading Japanese naval cipher JN-25. Within months, the untouched shipyards at Pearl Harbor repaired Enterprise, Yorktown, and damaged battleships. Within a year, the untouched oil tanks fueled the greatest industrial mobilization in history. America launched 17 fleet carriers by 1945. Japan launched none after Midway. The missing carriers at Pearl Harbor became the spear that pierced the heart of the Imperial Navy. 6 months later, at Midway, those same carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown, waited in ambush. American dive bombers caught 4 Japanese carriers with decks full of aircraft, fuel, and bombs. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, gone in 6 minutes. The same 6 carriers that struck Pearl Harbor were now burning wrecks. Yamamoto's worst nightmare had arrived ahead of schedule. Act 4. The climax that was decided on December 7th. Midway was not the turning point people think. The turning point happened when Nagumo turned south instead of launching the third wave. Every gallon of oil left burning in those tanks became a B-29 over Tokyo. Every dry dock left intact became a new Essex-class carrier sliding into the Pacific. Every submarine pen ignored became wolf packs that strangled Japan's merchant marine. By 1944, Japan imported 0 tons of oil, pilots trained with pine logs instead of aviation fuel. Kamikaze became the only tactic left. The Emperor's Navy, once the third most powerful in the world, ended the war with admirals scuttling their own ships to avoid surrender. Act 5. The lesson written in Fire Pearl Harbor was never about sinking battleships. Battleships were obsolete the moment Billy Mitchell proved air power ruled the seas in 1921. Pearl Harbor was about time. Yamamoto needed 18 months of American weakness. Nagumo's caution gave America 18 months of strength. The third wave cancellation and the missing carriers were not footnotes. They were the hinge on which the Pacific War turned. Japan did not lose because of Midway, Guadalcanal, or the Marianas. Japan lost because on December 7, 1941, Nagumo sailed away with victory in his grasp and left the tools of American revenge untouched. The sleeping giant woke up angry and industrially unmatched. Yamamoto knew it the moment he heard the reports. "I fear all we have done," he reportedly said, "is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." He was right, and the proof burned across the Pacific for the next 4 years.